Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Take care of your family, stay in, stay away from everybody, and in the meantime, listen to Cascade Hoops Talk. Today we have Tate Hoffman from Southern Oregon University. Tate played all 4 years for the Raider. This first-team All-Conference and All-American player. He ended his career with almost 1,500 points and approaching 800 rebounds. He's a quiet leader, never gets rattled on the court, led his team to the national tournament for the first time in several years, winning their first round game before the tournament was canceled. Welcome, Tate. Thank you so much for being on.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So, Tate, you grew up in Portland area. You went to West Linn High School. A lot of people don't know you were both a basketball and a baseball prospect. Talk about the decision to play basketball in college.
Well, leading up to it, I wanted to play baseball in college up until I'd say like 2 months before graduation. And so when we were playing state championship my senior year, I didn't know if that was going to be my last basketball game or not. And then, I don't know, I feel like my team at Westland my senior year in basketball had a really good influence on me wanting to play just because we had so much fun together and I didn't want to stop playing.
So let's talk about that team of West Linn. Again, people in Oregon know, but when you were in high school, West Linn won Tate, 4 straight 6A titles your 4 years in high school, and you were on varsity 2 of those years. You had one teammate that a lot of people around the country have heard of, Peyton Pritchard, but overall, that was a great team, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had 4 D1 guys in our starting lineup for 3 different sports, and I was the only one that wasn't, so pretty athletic starting 5.
Yeah, what was it like to be part of that program where you guys were so dominant?
It was fun. I mean, going on the road is really fun because the other gyms usually filled up, and our team was pretty athletic, so I'd like to think that we put on a pretty good show night in and night out.
So after high school, you had to decide where to go to college. Like you say, was it your senior year in high school that made you decide to play basketball?
Yeah.
So what went into your decision to go to Southern Oregon?
Well, I had a couple of schools talking to me for both, and then I got a call from Coach McDermott to come on a visit down to Southern, and of course I took it, and I felt at home I didn't meet any of the players because they were on spring break because it was late, but I just felt at home on the campus, and I felt like when I came down on my next visit, I watched them scrimmage, and I felt like I just would be a good fit in that program, and I liked all the guys there at the time, so I thought it was a good fit.
So, Tate, this just popped in my head. We didn't talk about this before, but I think the first 2 years of your career at Southern Oregon, you had to play over at the high school. Was it the first 2 years?
Yeah, first 2 years.
How difficult was that? That seemed like it'd be because you had to really juggle around practice schedule and playing. How difficult was that?
It was pretty brutal. I mean, you don't get like the full home atmosphere playing off campus because, people have things going on their weekends and you don't get all the people from the dorms coming right over like they do now. But the 6 a.m. practices were really brutal. And because that's really the only practice time we had. We might have had like a practice here and there that was 7:30 at night. But I'd say about 95% of our practices were at 6 a.m. And when it's 20 degrees out, going out to your car and stuff gets pretty brutal.
Yeah, I thought, for people who don't know, they were building a new facility, which is a beautiful facility. It's open now for a couple of years. Over at Southern Oregon, they had to play at the local high school. Personally, Tate, I thought that hurt you guys to have to do that for those 2 years. So this season, your senior season, boy, Southern Oregon had a great year. You lost a couple of games on the road in Montana schools, but then you came back and neutral court, you were able to defeat Antelope Valley and UC Merced, 2 very good schools. And then how did you feel about the team as you were planning to head out to the Midwest to play Midland and Morningside?
I felt like we were in a really good rhythm. I mean, we dropped a tough one to open the year. Carroll jumped on us early, first game jitters. And, I mean, after that first 10-minute stretch, I feel like we hung right with them. We played them even. And so we just had to get that out of us, and we beat a really good Montana Tech team. And then Yeah, at the OIT tournament, Antelope Valley. Obviously, a lot of people saw what they were capable of. They ran their conference, and UC Merced, I think, came second or third. So those were three really good wins about when we were about to head out to the Midwest.
Did you guys did your trip get canceled when you were in Denver, or did you not get out of Medford to go to?
We showed up at our facility to get on the bus to go to the Medford airport, and our flight from Medford to Denver wasn't canceled, but I think they weren't letting any flights out of Denver for some reason. And so, yeah, we just sat in the facility for about an hour. They were trying to find like alternate routes for us to take, but they couldn't get us all together, and it would have been really bad times. So they just canceled it.
How disappointing was that for you and your whole team to miss that opportunity to play what was at that time the number one team in the country, Morningside?
We thought that would have been a really good measuring stick and a really good opportunity because we were like, I think we were ranked in like around the 15 mark, where it would have been a really good opportunity to show what we could do. We felt like we were playing pretty good at the time, but obviously it wasn't meant to be.
Well, I thought the type of team you had, you guys were quick, deep, long, very, very good defensively, with a lot of offensive weapons. I thought you would have been a really tough matchup for Morningside. Well, I was so disappointed when you couldn't play that game.
Yeah, I really feel like it wasn't meant to be because we were both one win away from meeting up again in the Elite Eight in South Dakota. But yeah, this wasn't meant to be this year.
So then the conference kicked off, and you had to start the conference with that, I call it the 1,000,000-hour bus ride up to Kirkland. You played on that small floor, and you had them beat. You're up by 12 with 9 minutes to go, and then they came back, and that was a huge upset for nobody thought Northwest was going to be good. And they beat you guys, and the next night beat Oregon Tech. Talk about that loss and that comeback they made.
Yeah, it was a tough one because you always want to start off 1-0 to start conference and get your team's confidence up. But yeah, it's always kind of weird playing up there with everything feels really congested on that floor with how small the gym is and how close the padding is behind the basket. But I feel like we bounced back the next night very well and beat Evergreen.
So I wanted to ask you about that. It is a tight gym. People who've listened to this show, I use it a lot for an example of one of the toughest places to play because it's so loud. But the floor is like 84 feet or something. Does that change the game?
Yeah, I mean, we like to get out and run, and with our offense, we do like to keep it pretty spread and all that. And, yeah, everything does feel a lot more congested. The fans feel like they're right on top of you, even though there might only be like 250, 300, whatever that place holds. It does get loud, and yeah, it makes for a pretty fun atmosphere for not having that many people.
So Northwest, they had a really a very good ball player, Hussein Ford, one of the best rebounders in the country. You played against him. My question is, does Hussein Ford ever get tired?
That's what I was trying to wonder with just about everybody on their team, considering by the end of the year they were only playing 6 guys. But those type of guys, it's not very fun to play against because he is a load and really big. And when they don't get tired,
he seemed to me like he had an endless tank of gas. And it wasn't just he played the whole game. He played with a ton of energy the whole game.
Absolutely, yeah. He was really good.
So then you were working your way through the conference, again, having a good year. And then you had your rival, Oregon Tech. You had a 1-point victory. You had a block to preserve the victory. You came back, I think you were 12 or 14 behind in the second half, and you didn't lead until like 4 seconds to go. How big was that win?
I feel like that just propelled us to get through the rest of the first half of the league and onto the second half, because that's always kind of been a stumbling block for us, our OIT game. Yeah, that was obviously a really good team.
And here we come. Fink gets by 2 defenders. They go inside. It's blocked. It's blocked by Hoffman. It's blocked by Hoffman. And the Raiders win. Tate Hoffman with the block, and the Raiders win. Tate Hoffman with the block, and the Raiders win. The Raiders have upset the 5th-ranked team in the nation.
They were a 2 seed as well in the tournament, and so I feel like that kind of gave us that confidence that we're just as good as anybody in the country.
Yeah, that win, I think, really set you up to finish second in the conference.
Yeah.
And we were, 16-4. Most years you would win the Cascade Conference with that. So after that Oregon Tech game, then you have another billion-hour bus ride. You go out to Eastern, and then you went out to Caldwell, and another game that I'm sure you wish you could have back. You had College Idaho, the number one team in the country, down by 8, 55 seconds to go.
Yeah, that one haunted me. I know it haunted a lot of other people on our team for a while, just because we know how hard of a place that is to win, and to have them right where we wanted them was tough. I mean, there was 2,500 people there. Like, they were all against us. It was loud. We felt like some calls probably could have gone our way, but we also had a few plays where we didn't execute as well as we could, and that led to just the perfect storm of them beating us by 1.
Well, they absolutely had that gym jammed this year, didn't they, for their games? I went over to a couple. Boy, it was packed.
Yeah, I think they probably had 2,500, 3,000 at our game.
I've talked to a couple of players from College Idaho, and they all point to that game as that was their big test to get by. That was the game that, in every run, there's one game that you kind of steal, and that was the game they definitely stole.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a tough one.
So you had a great year, like I said, 16-4. At the end of the regular season, how did you feel going into the conference playoffs?
I felt like we were playing good. I mean, we beat everybody that we should have beat this year. I feel like we were playing really good basketball. Beat Warner Pack really handily in the first round of the playoffs, and it set up a big game with OIT.
That game in that new facility you have, again, that's a beautiful facility. I don't think they could have got anybody else in there. There was a lot of fans from both teams. It was really loud. I remember at the start of that game, when you guys went out to do, the jump ball to start the game, that place just almost started rocking. What was it like to play in that atmosphere?
It was really cool, especially knowing that either win or lose was going to be my last home game at Southern. It was a special way to go out with that atmosphere. And obviously the game didn't go our way, but I mean, it was really fun to see just about everybody from Ashland and Klamath Falls come out to that. That
had to be, as you say, you would have loved to have won the game, but that had to just be an amazing atmosphere to play in. So
absolutely.
It's very disappointing to lose in the conference tournament. So from that period where you lost in the conference tournament to, get ready to head out to Sioux Falls, I mean, how did that change the way you prepared? What was your team like during that preparation?
He gave us a little bit of time off. So I went home for a weekend just to kind of like reset and stuff. And then we got back together, and we were just scrimmaging a lot to keep our conditioning up. And I mean, you're not really game planning for anybody for the first little bit, because you don't know who you're about to play. So it was definitely a different week of practice, I guess.
So you got out to Sioux Falls. You were going to play Montreat, a very, very athletic team. Tate, you have a quality, and I've said this before about other people, but you undertalk and overdeliver. You're relatively quiet on the court, but you're definitely a leader on that team. You were playing one of the top teams out of that Appalachian Conference, and you didn't have anybody on your team that had been to the tournament before. And I thought your leadership on the floor during that game and keeping all your team together, keeping everything going in the right direction, I can't stress how impressed I was with your leadership that game. What do you remember from that game?
I feel like with our team in that first round game, obviously any of us have never played in the national tournament. I feel like we were all pretty level-headed and calm going into it. We had a good confidence about our group, and I feel like I am a more quiet leader, but I feel like I just try to keep my teammates just, down to earth and don't get too high, don't get too low. And it paid off, and we got that first round win.
Yeah, definitely. You played very well. That had to be so disappointing. Tell me about the moment you found out there's no more basketball.
Well, we were going through Holy Cross stuff. Team we were about to play in the round of 16, on one of those side courts, the Pentagon. And I think it was players from IU Kokomo came over and was telling us that it just got canceled. And, like, nothing really set in at first. Just called my parents, talked to, like, family and stuff. And then we went back to the hotel. Our travel coordinator at SOU got us on a flight, like, 4 or 5 hours. So it was really hard to, like, really sit down and process everything really until I got back to Ashland, like, a day or two later.
Has it sunk in?
Yeah, and it kind of comes in waves, and it is really disappointing when you think about it, just knowing, like, we didn't get beat. It got taken from everybody that was still left. But, yeah, it's a tough feeling.
Well, one thing nobody can ever take from you, 16-4 in the Cascade Conference, and you got to the round of 16. And, Tate, you should feel pretty good about that. And nobody can take that from you. Hey, Tate, couple questions for you. So, who was the toughest player in the conference for you to score against?
As a player, I'd say Hussein Ford was up there,
Mm-hmm.
and then as an individual, and then I'd say OIT always had a pretty good game plan against us, and obviously College of Idaho zone can give anybody problems on any night.
Yeah, College of Idaho is an amazing defense, and Hussein Ford is an excellent defensive player. Who was the toughest player for you to guard in the conference?
Yeah, as a team, I'd definitely put, you have to put Mitch Fink and Seth Erickson up there. Seth, that one game where we beat them by 1 at our place, Seth was unbelievable that night. And then, Mitch, night in and night out, is always a hard guard.
Where was the toughest place for you in a Cascade Conference?
The toughest place to play, I'd probably say, atmosphere-wise with the fans is probably College of Idaho,
Yeah.
But with, like, the feel of the gym, Northwest was probably up there.
What about Eastern? That seems like a really tough place too.
Yeah, Eastern's a weird one too because they always have a good team, and that was a weird one this year because we were coming off that heartbreaking loss against College of Idaho. But that was one that this year was my first year ever winning at Eastern, so I definitely salvaged that while I could.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple other players about that. That's got to be one of the toughest road trips in the NAI, heading out to Eastern and College, Idaho.
Yeah, for sure.
Tate, what has it meant to you to be a part of Southern Oregon basketball?
I think just the relationships I've built while I've been down there. I mean, obviously we had a lot of team success, especially in my senior year. But I've built some of my best friendships while I've been down there. And obviously we left my senior class left the program in a good place for other people to come and take it over. And I just feel like the school as a whole with the professors and everything had a pretty tight atmosphere. So that was cool to be a part of.
So what's next for you after Southern Oregon?
I'm talking to a few agents right now, and I'm trying to play professionally. I don't know where. Guess we'll find out in a few months. But, yeah, that's my next step.
Well, definitely wish you good luck with that. Right now, everything's just up in the air, isn't it, with the virus?
Yeah, no idea what's going on.
Well, if you happen to still be around, when basketball season starts up again, I'd love to, get you on during the season and talk about Cascade Conference basketball.
Sounds good. I'll be available just about any time.
Okay, Tate, one more thing. Your dad was an excellent basketball player, played at George Fox University. Who's the better basketball player in the family, you or your dad?
I'd say overall I was. I'd say he was definitely more athletic than me. He was definitely a better jumper. But I'd give myself the overall game.
So we'll give you the nod there. Tate, it was a real pleasure to talk to you. I enjoyed watching you through the years. Best of luck with whatever you end up doing, whether it's overseas or just going to work, but best of luck to you, and hopefully you get to talk to you again.
All right, thank you.